Everybody, nice to be here with everyone. Here we go. Hello everyone. How is everyone? Let me just put everyone to ease here. Thank you for your patience. Sorry for this little delay. I had some parking issues followed by some technical issues. The good news is I'm here. I'm happy to be here. We have an amazing session today. It's hard to believe that it's only been 1 week ago today. Actually, this time we were in the middle of the last day of the Kabbu retreat. If you were there, you know what I'm talking about. You know how it felt. If you missed it, if you couldn't be there in person or on Zoom, then I have no words for you. I hope that the people in the chat will put a few maybe good one-liners on what went on in that retreat, and it was really something out of this world, and the sessions were so deep and so engaging, and sadly most of them we cannot repeat here, but some of them we can, and we decided to take one particular session which is called Kabbalistic Nigunim. Nigunim, what is a nigun? For those of you who don't speak Hebrew, nigun, loosely translated, means a melody, a tune, if you will, but it has a deeper meaning. And nigun is not simply something that one decides to pen during their free time. Oh, I have a guitar, I'll just put a little nigun together. No, it's another way that a Kabbalist, someone in spiritual attainment, could express their attainment without using words. So Kabbalists have different degrees of attainment, okay, from 1 through all the way 125, and each one who attained something of the spiritual world, like a good explorer, left a recollection of their journey. Where have they been? What have they seen? What have they attained? For other Kabbalists on the path, just like anyone who traveled to a distant place felt a need to document, to record their experience in case someone else wanted to follow in their footsteps. What could they expect to find, and so on and so forth. And in the beginning, those recollections were mostly emotional. That was how the development of the wisdom and the development of the person who attained it followed that trajectory, because we are feeling creatures first and foremost. So what we attain, we feel. And that's why there aren't that many books, and specifically more, let's call it technical books, for lack of a better term. Just file it under quotation marks. But this attainment usually was was something that was very hard to express in words. There were books written about it, but most of them were very hard to follow. Even the book of Zohar, for example, that was written 2,000 years ago by the group of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, these people reached the highest level of connection, all the spiritual worlds, and they put down their experience in one of the most detailed books that was ever written about the spiritual attainment, and yet it's a very emotional description. Even though there are some technical terms there, it's hard to, you can't take this book and study from it. So the people who attained anything in Kabbalah put it down in book format, all the way to Adam Arishon, and not the system of Adam, but the person named Adam who lived and who attained something of that wisdom almost 6,000 years ago, all through Abraham and other Kabbalists. Moses, of course, everybody knows the book Moses left for us, the Bible, the Torah, the Pentateuch, however you want to call it, and then the accompanying books, all describing, of course, spiritual states, not people or places or historical events, but changing states inside of a person who is on a path to spiritual attainment. This book was later commented on repeatedly because it was so detailed, so profoundly comprehensive, that all the Kabbalists that followed Moses didn't need to start from scratch. It was almost like someone came to a place and instead of taking a few pictures, actually went down and drew a map of it. That was the Bible. And then the Kabbalists who follow that, they also started from there. So the Book of Zohar is really you can say it's a commentary. It's written around the structure that the Bible laid out, the structure of the spiritual worlds that Moses describes. The Zohar expands on it, elaborates, gives it additional character, color, texture, adds more detail. And then the Talmud, all the Jewish books, the holy books as they're called, were all written based on people's attainment and used the Bible as the starting point. In fact, ever since the Bible and every other book that was written always referenced that. However, up until the time of the Ari, and some of you who followed remember we drew a little historic timeline, up until the time of the Ari, around the 16th century, all these attainments, all these books were very emotional, and Kabbalists used not only words but also something very important called music, nigunim. That's the nigun that we're talking about today. So the nigunim were a way for a Kabbalist to express their spiritual path, their journey, their ascents and descents, their challenges and moments of elation, their changing states. They expressed it through the nigun. So the nigun is not simply I've had an interesting story happen to me and here's a song to commemorate it. No. The nigun is actually a rope that the Kabbalist lowers for us from his degree of attainment, except it's not using written words, although some of the nigunim do use actual words. We'll get to it in a minute. But a lot of them, and often today when we sing them, we don't necessarily use the words, because even without the words, you can feel how the nigun is reflecting some sort of inner changes in you. And that's what's so amazing about this nigun. It doesn't fall into a particular musical category. You can't categorize it as pop, rock, folk. It's not even spiritual. When you think of spiritual music, religious music, it's not that. It's not a music that says, I want to sing about devotion. So here's this very a piece that sounds very devoted. Not to say that these are not important pieces as well, and they do serve an important role in a person's spiritual journey. So even people who follow certain religions, and those are important steps on their spiritual journey. These pieces sung in churches, synagogues, mosques, they're also important for their spiritual journey. But they sing about something. They're not actually sung from the attainment of the people who sing them. And the nigunim were always sung from that place. So today we're going to dive into that. We're going to hear a lot of music. So sit down, relax. You don't have to take any notes. You just have to listen and feel and just let yourself experience the nigun. Feel what it does inside of you, and let it take you where it needs to take you. So we'll start with the first one. This one is called El Mistater, the concealed God. There are many renditions for it. This is one specific rendition with a clip. You don't have to watch the clip. The clip is not about what the nigun is about. It's just a nice background. You can close your eyes. You can just let it wash over you. Here it is, El Mistater. Hi guys, let me know if you're not seeing or hearing something, because I got some things saying that you're not seeing or hearing something, but I think still no sound? No, I think sound. No sound? 1, 2, 1, 1. I'm getting confusing messages. Sound back. Okay. All right. This was just one example of a nigun. Whatever you felt, it's okay. You could see how this nigun doesn't follow a particular pattern. It doesn't follow a particular style of music, and there's a reason for it, because the nigun is really it's not. It's not. Sorry. It's not. It's. Sorry about that. We keep going back. There it is. Because the song that the Kabbalists use, the song bypasses the mind and goes directly to the feeling. That's exactly what it's meant to do. It's not meant to convey technical information. It's meant to share a feeling. And the thing about it is that when you study Kabbalah, if you ask any of the instructors, hey, what does it feel like to be on such and such degree? Or what does it feel like to be in a restriction? Or what does it feel like to really love someone? No one in their right mind will give you an answer. If you ask someone, anyone, of any spiritual discipline, what does it feel like to ... and they answer, take your stuff and leave. This is not a spiritual teacher, because we cannot convey our feelings. That's the sort of this block that exists. I'm stuck in my feelings, you're stuck in your feelings. We're working to unite above those barriers and find that common point. That's what the wisdom is about. But along the way, I cannot convey to you, I cannot transmit to you my feeling, my attainment, my sensations. Those are all personal. And for good reason, because each one of us is unique. So a song is the closest thing that you'll ever get to actually feeling something, actually experiencing a sliver of what the Kabbalist attained. And I want to play you now another song, another nigun by a great friend of ours. This first one was also by a great friend of ours, but he didn't see his face, so I'll introduce him later. This friend, his name is Marcus. You see him here. He teaches here sometimes. If you're in the retreat, you also saw him there. And this is just a great example of a nigun that he created a rendition for it. Let me just find it. There it is. Okay, so let's open up and hear this rendition of a nigun that came from our friend Marcus. So the nigun, Baal Sulam writes, the nigun is the medium between the corporeal and the spiritual. Indeed, the niguns are very special. We sing them on special occasions. I mean, this could be any day that we gather. But anytime friends gather, we often end up singing something together because it really helps just bridge all those gaps that exist between us. In fact, many of the nigunim that you already heard and you will hear today, many of them were written or were rearranged or recomposed by Baal Sulam in actually a period of about 4 months. And this person is not a musician, right? He's a Kabbalist. He's a person who grew up in a yeshiva in Poland, became a scholar, then a student of Kabbalah, then a person of attainment, writing all these things for us. And then at some point he decided, my students who come from such different backgrounds, I have Yemenite people, Polish people, people who speak Yiddish, Hebrew, English, all kinds of people coming to me, I need something that brings them together. And he sat down and in a period of 4 months he composed about 12 or so niguni melodies like that, and that was it. Never touched the piano again, never did any music again. And that those nigunim, those melodies, instantaneously created a common bridge that all these students could sing together. So there's something very special about it. So it's not about a performance. I'm not trying to perform here. No one is trying to show off their skill. It's almost like the antithesis to America Got Talent. Talent is great. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's the opposite of that. I, as the musician, I'm trying to disappear in the nigun. I'm trying to let the nigun be the common ground for everyone, not the performer of the nigun. So when friends gather and they sing, you'll often notice that someone starts, but then immediately they sort of disappear and they become just one thing. In fact, if you lived in places that have more connection to traditional customs, like in, for example, the Balkans or in Georgia, the country, not the state, in the U.S., they have a great tradition of folk singing that's rooted in spiritual search, spiritual attainment. If you go to the East, some of those traditions are still kept, and they are rooted in people's personal spiritual attainment. And that music is really coming from that, and you'll see the groups of men singing it together, and also there's some dances that go with it, all in an effort to preserve that that particular spiritual state that was then arranged in a nigun. That's the beauty of it. So, with that in mind, let's just listen, feel, and try to hum along. Don't try to sing. Even if you're totally new to this, even if you've never heard a Kabbalistic Nigun before, it doesn't matter. Just try to hum. Try to feel the notes coming from within you, as if you are trying to write the song. This is the best way to approach the nigun. Not listening like a spectator or a listener in a concert that's waiting to be moved by the performance, by the notes, by the arrangement, but rather trying to be like the person who is now sitting down and trying to write that particular musical expression from something you've just attained. If you try to do it, if you actually close your eyes and try to hum along, try to anticipate the next note in the arrangement, you'll be surprised. Even though it doesn't follow the traditional pentatonic scale or the major or the minor scales to perfection, and any popular arrangement that you may have heard of, you'll be surprised that if you actually put yourself to it and try to feel it, you'll start to feel the notes coming from within you, almost before the melody has actually hit that note. That's an amazing quality of the nigun. So let's hear that nigun. This one is by a great friend of mine. His name is Danny Whitesfield. Some of you know him. Some of you have never heard of him. He was I'll tell you about him later. I don't want you to think about Danny. Think about how you are preparing yourself to listen to that nigun? Are you letting this nigun carry you? The name of this nigun, by the way, is Bnei Heichala, the children of the palace, if you will. Those who gather together and are trying to reach the king's palace, the upper hall. Okay, Bina, going from Malchut, reception, all the way to Bina, bestowal. That's where we gather, we connect the broken pieces, and that's when we're allowed to enter that state. It's not a place, it's an emotional state, it's a spiritual state. Try to listen to it with that image, if you will, but don't get stuck on the image, just try to feel it. Wow, this one, every time I hear it, it's powerful. The Kabbalistic Nigun does not come from an intellectual attempt to give you an intellectual experience. It is, by definition, the closest expression of an emotional state. Since spirituality is attained in our vessel, and our vessel is a vessel of feeling, we are feeling creatures, then the nigun is the closest thing that can sort of vibrate within the desire. Now, it's true that music is a corporeal thing, but it has a spiritual root. And just like our fascination in this corporeal world with relationships between different frequencies is rooted in the spiritual structure of the universe, music, that particular range, that very narrow range of frequencies, is also an expression of that root. Now, it's interesting to note that all these things are, again, they're not based on a mental construct that people have created and are creating to this day. We create a lot of those constructs all the time, trying to relate to reality. I relate to reality and I come up with a structure, philosophical structure, cultural, social, chemical, physical, biological, it doesn't matter, that try to reflect it as much as possible. But because I'm broken, I'm not corrected, my lenses are broken, the structure that I create is ultimately incomplete, it's imperfect, there are always missing parts. On occasion, a scientist will stumble, and I deliberately use this word because all the great scientists will also tell you that they stumble on something big while working on a problem, trying to do something here, creating a distraction, exerting a certain way, aligning themselves, building a desire. When you build enough of a desire, nature connects with that effort. Everything works like this in this world, and it's the same goes for spirituality. So by exerting a certain direction, we attain it, but the attainment doesn't come from an intellectual exertion, from I'll do 1 + 2 + 3 and I get 6. No, I'll do 1 + 2 + 3 + whatever and I get red. Okay, it's like on two different levels, but you have to exert. But the finding, which is the result of the exertion, is I labored and I found, right? It's not I labored and I arrived. No, I found suddenly. It's a different process because the finding comes to us from above. And in the same way, the Kabbalistic Nigun comes to the Kabbalist from above. They reach such a degree of connection with the upper force, with the upper system, even the smallest one, but it's already on a totally different level than this world, and that leaves a strong impression in them. And some Kabbalists have those vessels, those talents to express it in song. Just like some Kabbalists can write, others cannot write. Some can speak, can talk, others cannot talk. Some cannot do any of those things. Some can only think, some can sometimes paint, some can dance. There are all sorts of expressions, and humans have understood it. And so if you look back again into old, before we have all this noise of everybody can print a book, everybody can can sew a garment, everybody can do practically anything. Doesn't mean that we should, but back in the day, when someone reached a certain level, they were allowed, invited by their society to express that in song, in dance, in a particular weaving of something, in a certain movement, a certain specific expression. So our expressions are rooted in something very, very deep. It's, this picture, it's the tree of life, the 10 sefirot. Now, I don't want you to get all mystical because that's not what we do here. However, there is this structure. But I can also draw it. Like, where is that? You understand? We're talking about relationships. We're not talking about a particular structure. We're not trying to superimpose the structure on the human form. None of those things, because that's not spirituality. However, the internal structure of things affects everything in our reality, because it's like a carbon copy of the spiritual world. Same laws are at work here, just the expression is different, the garment is different. So doing something on this level that corresponds to the spiritual structure is not going to get you to spirituality. You have to find a ladder that connects them. But that's a common mistake, right? Oh, right is bestowal, I'm going to start to only use my right hand. No, that's not how it works. Simply copying that structure onto this will just reveal to you that there is a structure and there are relationships. It's not going to get you to climb up the ladder. We try to climb up the ladder. But that's besides the point. Back to our music. So, like everything, this music is rooted in the spiritual structures. So we have the 10 sfirot, right? The spiritual partzuf, the complete spiritual unit. Now, we are tempted to say that there are no divisions, there's only oneness. That is true from the perspective of the light. But from our perspective, from the perspective of those who attain, we are forced to divide everything into elements. So we have those elements and we have those relationships. It doesn't mean that if I go in between the sfirot, if I go between Keter and Chokhmah, there's another 10 sfirot right there. Let me show you this again, just so it's clear. That's not what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do is to explain that there are divisions. Side note, which I wanted to speak about, today you see that people are speaking about this spectrum of everything, right? Spectrum of feelings, of emotions, of genders, of everything. Why? This is humanity's intuitive desire to move towards oneness, but it's doing it in a sort of a lopsided way. Because guess what? There are divisions. From our perspective, trying to erase them corporeally won't make it so. Reaching the oneness spiritually will make it so. That was just a side note. I want to go back to the tree. So, the tree. We have, look how everything is arranged. You'll find many, many relationships, but I want to give you the core ones. So you have 12. 12 is what we call the full degree. So even though there are 10 sfirot, Kabbalists talk about the 10 sfirot in the sense of hold on, let me see if I can get I cannot get. Kabbalists speak about those in different terms, and you'll hear them say, well, it's 10, well, no, it's 5, well, it's 3 and 7, it's 4 and 6. It depends on what relationship you're trying to express. In this case, the 12 represents the full degree. Full degree, 3 lines, 4 layers, each one with 3 lines, right, left, and middle. So that's just one number, one musical number that you will see in music, right? We also have the 3, Keter, Chokhmah, Binah. Those are the Gar, the Gimel Rishonot, the upper 3 or the first 3. They represent the head of the Partzuf, the Rosh, as we call it. This is the thought, the intention of the Partzuf is in that area. That's what these Sfirot represent, those relationships. If we continue down the Partzuf, we get the Zat, the 7 lower Sfirot. Okay, Zat means Zayin Tachtonot. Zayin is the letter for 7. The lower 7 Sfirot represent the body of the Partzuf. So if the head is the intention, the calculation, when the light enters, it enters into the body of the Partzuf. It's felt in the body. It's processed in the body. The actions of the body are represented by this. These unfolding actions by these lower 7 sfirot. Again, don't confuse it with the corporeal body, although you'll find many places trying to superimpose and say, hey, this is Chokhmah, Bina, all those things. Don't fall for that. It just means that what we have in this world is a carbon copy of the spiritual world. It's not the same. It's just a copy. We want the original. So it's interesting that this 7, I want to focus specifically on the 7. This 7, we see it a lot in this world, right? That particular structure, that kind of relationship that we refer to as the body, this unfolding action, this process from Malchut to Bina, that we have to cover. You see it in many places in our world. You see it in the rainbow, 7 colors of the rainbow. Again, you can say, well, there's not 7. You can actually divide it into 1,000,000 colors. Yes, but the natural division, the one that most humans saw for thousands of years and still see, is the 7. Right? Below that you can't, above that you can't. The 7 is what we were given to see. Interesting. The skin, our relationship with the world, how we feel everything through the skin, also has 7 layers. Interesting. Again, I'm just pointing it out. And again, you can go online, you can find, oh no, they divide this one into 2 and this one into 4. Not the point here. I'm trying to show a repeating pattern before you go into the infinite spectrum. Okay, the repeating pattern of the 7 colors of the rainbow, the 7 layers of the skin, 7 months to get your first set of teeth on average, 7 years on average to get the second set of teeth. Interesting. Same thing with the piano. Hold on, let me see if I can. Oh, I'm sitting on it. Okay. Well, you see, from as you go up the scale, you'd have to be a musician. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. 7 notes. The 8th note is already the next degree. Another scale starts. So the 7 steps from reception, from Malchut to Bina. This structure is repeated everywhere. So again, it's not a coincidence that Kabbalists use the nigun as a means to travel on this spiritual path, up and down the path, because this this process that goes from Malchut to Bina here, this is an ongoing, an iterative process. Every degree we start from Malchut, every degree the keter, the attainment of the previous degree becomes the ground floor for the next degree. That's how it works. And you see, again, this is just the same drawing, just using notes. You see the complete degree, 4 times 3 lines. You see the 4 as the fundamental unit that represents the 4 phases. You see the 7, that's the process. Again, none of it is spiritual, but it's all rooted in spiritual relationships, because our whole world and all of nature is simply a copy of that, and that's what we're trying to get to. Now, someone asked why, where is that? Why the Kabbalists decide to share their nigunim? Well, one of the famous Kabbalists was King David. And again, King David represents also an internal quality, a spiritual quality. Whether or not such a king really existed in Jerusalem many years ago is besides the point. The quality of David, which gave us the quality of Psalms, is a very important representation, another representation of the spiritual journey. So just like you can have the Bible, and you can have the 5 books of the Bible, and you can have all these other books, the Zohar and the Study of the Sefirot, that speak of the spiritual journey, also Psalms speak about it. But why is Psalms so popular? Because it's a songbook. People love songs. They love the melody, the rhymes, the interesting patterns and connections that appear, and also the fact that it speaks about their states. So even though you don't have to be a religious person to open up a book of Psalms, and suddenly something about the song could touch you in a way like, wow, speak about these trials and tribulations and tragedies, and I felt like I was like thrown down and all the enemies on me and this and that, and suddenly you come out of it, because King David captured his spiritual journey, his spiritual experience through the Psalms. And so it's no wonder that most of our Kabbalistic melodies or nigunim come mostly from Psalms. Specifically, you can see this is from Psalms 27. I don't know if you can read it, but the Creator is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Creator is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though a host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this I will be confident. So this is a famous line from a nigun here. This is the line. This is a line that Kabbalists, again, it speaks to the Kabbalist, the person who has to struggle against his ego, and he feels all these desires, all these egoistic desires inside of him, rising against him, encamping around him. You feel like there's no way out, but then the light comes and helps you. Your friends come and help you. That connection lifts you from that state. That's the song that was written from that psalm. It's called Im Tachne Alai Machne. If a host, an army camps around me, that's really what the song is about. I want to play you a version that Danny, our friend, recorded with another friend of ours from Brazil. It's a beautiful version. Again, you don't know the words, it doesn't matter. Listen, feel, try to hum along, try to sing even. I'm not going to put the Hebrew words, but whatever the sounds that you hear, try to repeat them. Try to see if they're coming intuitively from within you as you hear this melody, this particular nigun. Very powerful nigun, very emotional. Let's hear it. And again, I'm doing it. Indeed, goosebumps. I was told that earlier when I went to the drawing of the 10 Sefirot, you couldn't hear me. And the point I was making is that from the point of view of the Creator, everything is one. There's only oneness. There is no separation. There is no this and this and that. It's all one quality. The light is one unique, unified, indivisible, etc. From the point of view of the created beings, we are the broken ones. We are the ones who see a broken reality. That's why we need to label every part and work with these parts and move them and try to rearrange them. That's what we're doing here. That's why there are separations in our world. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing that there are different types of people, different kinds of people, different faces, different ideas, different genders, this, that, the other. It's because we're moving towards oneness that we're trying to erase these differences and put everything on a spectrum for you to choose. That's something that we all see around us today. It's sort of an incorrected attempt, a distorted attempt at reaching the spiritual goal. You can't get there by just making this reality a big blur with no boundaries, because that's not the case. This reality is the way it is because it's a carbon copy of the spiritual reality. If you want to feel that infinite spectrum, you have to climb up the spiritual degrees and reach the spiritual reality. If you don't, anything you'll try to do here will not get you to oneness. Saying there are no men, no women, only one spectrum, it's not going to change nature. It's an intuitive desire that we have, but it's not going to do it. So the only way to feel it is to move up the spiritual ladder. And when you do, you'll start to see those relationships. And what I was drawing on this, when I was showing this, I hope you can hear me. I think you can hear me. Hold on. Do you hear me? 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. I hope you can hear me. Okay, I'm just going to stay on this screen just in case. I was saying that, yes, we have 10 Sefirot, but between each Sefirah, there are also 10 Sefirot. And between each one, also 10. It goes ad infinitum. This just goes to infinity. It's up to us to decide how we're going to work with these relationships. Now, because, I'll just make a note, because I started late, I owe you 10 minutes, so I'm going to go 10 minutes over, and the friends on the Zoom session, we're going to start at 10 minutes later. I hope everyone is okay with that. And if I did not mention it, if you're new here, and if this is the first time that you're seeing anything that's to do with Kabbalah, this is one angle into this wisdom. If you want to learn more, you are invited to Kabbu, our support team will put the links in the chats on Facebook and on YouTube. And there's also a Zoom session afterwards where we kind of give people time to ask questions more on really any topic, and we can kind of delve deeper into things that we can cover in this 1 hour. So bear with me. I'll take another 5-10 minutes, no more, from your time. I want to read this quote from Dr. Michael Lightman. He says, "A person needs to express his attitude to reality in what the Creator gave him. Kabbalists usually express it in music, niguns, melodies. There are also those among them that wrote rhymes, songs, poetry. Certainly they could have done it through painting or drawing and more. Why didn't they? All that a person has in him, he can do it in order to bestow contentment to the Creator in all sorts of ways. There's no prohibition on that. Only for your heart to pour your emotions in the correct way through the world to the Creator." So that's what Dr. Lightman is telling us. And so I have a couple of questions here. When this nigun is written, is it personal or channeled? It's all personal. Okay, let's just make it very clear. Even things that we say, oh, this came from, I heard an angel talking to me. It's all personal. It's your experience of the world. You are in such a state that you need to have this kind of division of this quality, which I will call an angel or someone who channels information, and there's me who receives it. This is just your way of perceiving reality. It's okay. It doesn't mean this is the objective reality. Let's remember that. So everything is personal. It's all trickling down to you depending on how you are connected on this spiritual ladder. And just like, as I mentioned in the beginning, just like scientists who work really hard, who exert in a certain direction, they begin to receive, to become more sensitive to these trickles that trickle down, these ideas, these formulas, idioms, pieces of the puzzle that trickle down to us. No one has ideas of their own. There's just a field of information and it's moving down towards us. And those who are more sensitive are the ones who are a little higher than the rest of the crowd, and they get that idea. Now, what they do with it is also up to them. Someone may take it and create a startup and build an empire. Another will just put it down, put it in a drawer, say, oh, that's cool, that's nice, and go, write a song about it. That's fine too. It's all coming from the same source, and it's all designed to help us gradually reach the place that is preparing us to move up the ladder spiritually, instead of moving sideways here in this corporeal reality, just trying to make sense of it, explain it, correct it, fix it. Kabbalah said, no, don't try to do it. Try to rise higher. All these ideas are just designed to eventually push you higher, outside of this reality. Even the most brilliant ideas are eventually going to bring you closer to that wall that you cannot cross unless you cross the barrier into spirituality. I wanna play another, because someone asked, any Kabbalists alive today writing new nigunim? So one could argue that some people here and there are probably writing some things. We won't know it right away because a lot of Kabbalists, conceal themselves. Of the students that study Kabbalah with us, a lot have created music. You guys, some of you know that music very well. Is it a nigun? Probably not. It's a music that sings about the experience, about being with the friends, about annulment, about climbing the ladder, about rising up, about uniting, all those things. We sing about it. It doesn't come from our attainment. But every once in a while, you get something from a friend that, who knows, could be a little drop from his attainment. So I want to play for you. I'm sorry why you're seeing this link. You don't need to. I'm going to play to you a song from a dear friend of ours. He's no longer with us in this physical world, very with us, very close to us. And he used to, I remember him, he used to play that song every time we met. Whenever there was a congress, bring his guitar, he was just sitting there and playing that melody, that nigun. And it does sound like a nigun. Again, you'll be the judge of whether or not it speaks of a spiritual state that this person has attained or felt. For me, it's something very close, very emotional. Let's hear it. I don't know if we'll hear the whole piece because it's long, but let's hear that piece, and we'll kind of end on that note. I'll come back to kind of give some closing remarks, but let's hear it. It's called The Intention by Charlie Wood.
Cobb TV. Watch your life make sense.
That was a taste from The Intention by our friend Charlie Wood. We're coming to the end of the session. I want to put up for you these links because some of you have asked for it. Obviously, if you go to Kabbalah.info to our YouTube channel, you'll also find some of these music tracks, but a lot of it is just spread all over. Someone asked about copyright of nigunim. They're not copyrighted at all. First of all, they're very old. Anything I think above 70 years, 100 years, you can't copyright. Number one. Number two, we are talking about certain melodies that were created close to 2,000 years ago. So when you join Bnei Baruch, when you join Kabbalah, when you come to an event, when we sing something, you could be singing something that was sung 2,000 years ago by a group of Kabbalists yearning to reach connection, to feel, to reveal the Creator, just like you are doing right now. And by trying to connect with that, to feel that you are, to some extent, are connecting to that state, that their level of attainment. So you can find some of the stuff just all over YouTube. There's Danny W. Music for all the stuff that Danny Weisfeld is doing. By the way, he's a world-renowned guitar player, played with Kelly Clarkson, a lot of other big names. A dear friend who puts his time, his life into Kabbalistic music. On SoundCloud, you can find BB&A Music. That's North American music. There's other BB music there. You'll find different clees, different regions. You have like Spanish, the Latin clee, Turkish, German, all kinds. But that's the North American one. That's a curated list of most of the songs that the friends, English-speaking friends, have written. And the last one, I don't remember what exactly that is, but it's probably, if it's there, it's good. Take a picture, copy it, go there. I don't know if it's a YouTube or a SoundCloud or something, but it's probably good if it's on that list. Before we go, I want to leave you with maybe a minute or two of something very special. This song, well, not a song. It's it's one thing when you hear everything arranged so nicely and performed, and everything is just meticulously recorded. It's great. I mean, there's a lot of power to that. But there's also a lot of power to that heartfelt eruption of the nigun from a Kabbalist, a small group of Kabbalists or a Kabbalist. It's really as close as you can get to tasting what is trying to give to you. So we'll end with a couple of minutes of this nigun. Some of you heard it at the retreat. We'll hear it here again. There are more, but this is one of the more powerful ones. This is a recording of our teacher's teacher. So not Dr. Lightman, his teacher, the RABASH, Rabbi Baruch Shalom HaLevi Ashlag, the son of Baal Sulam. He was really the last great Kabbalist. He's the one who left for us all the social writings, everything, and he used these melodies to overcome certain states, to enter deeper into certain states. It's very powerful. Let's try to, again, put everything we heard today aside, forget about everything. Just try to feel, it's an opportunity to connect to the heart of this Kabbalist. There's no audio in this. There's no video in this one. It's just a black screen. So I hope YouTube doesn't shut our stream or anything like that. Let's just hear it. I don't know if I could play. I wish if I knew how to play it while you see me, maybe you could see me, but I don't know if I'm, worth looking at. At least this way, it's going to be a black screen, but we're going to be listening to it together. So let's take a minute or two just listening together to this Kabbalist. And I'll see you in a few weeks. This was Kabbalah Explained Simply about the Nigunim. You can find all the links to everything, and we'll see you, some of you later, on the Zoom, of course.
Thank you.